What's up, you guys? So welcome to the channel, or welcome back to the channel. We're going to get into some of my best of the best for 2022 designer edition. Okay, so if you're interested to see my picks for 2022 designers, okay, then keep watching. My name is Amanda Marie. I love to discuss all things fragrances. That is my thing. Mostly what I talk about on my channel. If you're someone that is interested in fragrance, I would love for you to subscribe. So let's get into the video. Now, y'all know, for all of my ride or dies that's been with me at least for a year. If you've been with me watching my channel for at least a year now, I consider you a rider, okay? You are a rider. You part of the perfume posse, okay? You my perfume partner, all right? So y'all know that I've been on this rant about designer fragrances for several months now. And I just feel like designer fragrances have lost, the designer brands, I should say, have lost somewhat of a creativity feel for me. They were on repeat. That's what I feel like. They were literally on repeat. And what I mean by that is they bought us flankers of flankers. Okay, and that's like a repeat for me. Like, I didn't feel like there was really anything new. I wasn't necessarily moved by a lot of the designer fragrances that were released this year. Kind of disappointed. Some of my top favorite designers is Narciso Rodriguez. Love his fragrances. I also love Jean-Paul Gaultier fragrances. And you know, see, I can't even mention all of my favorite designers. Mugler. But you know, there was a lack. There was a lack, in my opinion, on in the designer realm. Really hard for me to do this video, okay? Because to be honest with you, I really wasn't that excited about the designer fragrances. I noticed in my collection this year, I purchased a lot of niche fragrances. And for those of you who are new and you don't know what the term niche means, basically it's just they're not designers, which means they don't have any clothing items, handbags, shoes, anything like that. They just strictly do fragrances. They strictly stick to one genre, okay, and that is fragrance. So that's niche. And oftentimes with niche, you will find that the fragrances are very unique, okay. I feel like niche fragrances or niche brands have more of a creative control over their fragrances and things like that. You're gonna find that most niche fragrances are not necessarily for the mass, okay, for the masses, okay, they're not, you know, they don't have a lot of mass appeal. Some of them, you know, probably most of them, to be honest with you. But anyway, let's get into this lineup that I have. Is my hair sticking up, child? Let's get into this lineup of fragrances. Now, it could have been more. I could have, you know, really went through, and some of you might agree to this lineup and some of you may not, but I feel like I did my best. Okay, I did my best to pick the fragrances, and I picked them solely on uniqueness. Okay, let me stop now. I picked these fragrances really mostly on how they made me feel, and if they wowed me or surprised me in some shape, form, or fashion. Okay, so that's how I really pick this list. I went more on my emotion and versus necessarily the smell, because truth be told, with the exception for maybe two of them, if I was going on smell, I would only be mentioning 2 fragrances in this video. I know I am baby, I'm hard. The reason why I'm so hard is because as a collector, I started off collecting designer fragrances, and so I'm a little bit disappointed, if you can tell. I'm a little bit disappointed. But anyway, let's get it cracking. Very Good Girl Glam. Now, this is what the bottle looks like. I have a lot of stilettos. Okay, I call these stilettos. This is from the house of Carolina Herrera. Now, if you've been following me for 2 years or 3 years, you know that I was not necessarily the biggest fan of Very Good Girl and that's in the red bottle. I will put a picture up so you guys can see. It reminded me of other fragrances like Angel Nova, like that. And I think at the time I had purchased Angel Nova first, and then I had purchased Very Good Girl. But then they released Very Good Girl Glam, which at initial spray, where's my strips? Hold on. All right, let's give this a little bit of spray, even though this fragrance is very memorable to me. This is, and as y'all can see, I did put a tiny little dent in this fragrance. I don't know if y'all can see that, but I did put a dent in it because at the time I was looking, it was summertime, or was it springtime, going into summertime. I was really caught up in Hibiscus Mahajid by Maison Crivelli. I had got a sample of that, right? And at the time, I didn't want to spend the coin on it. And so I made it a mission to find something that really got me close to that beautiful hibiscus smell. And this, there's no hibiscus in this, but it gave me the same feel. So I purchased it. In my mind, I was thinking like, it's going to smell like Very Good Girl. And I didn't want that. Surprisingly, I actually enjoyed this fragrance. It's very much springtime. It's giving me bright, sunny, you know, you're wearing shorts, you're out in the sun, you're enjoying your day, you know. It's giving me very much springtime, summertime, and I really enjoyed it. It probably was one of my most to-go-to scents over the summertime because it has this freshness to it, okay? There's notes of sour cherry, bitter almond, rose, lily, vanilla bourbon, and vetiver. I do get that sour cherry in the opening, and I pick up on the lily. I pick up on the rose too, but I'm getting a lot of lily. And lily has a brightness to it, a freshness. As this fragrance dries down, I do pick up more of the vetiver in the fragrance, not so much of the bourbon vanilla, but you do get the vanilla in this fragrance. So it does come off sweet. It's a sweet, fruity, bright floral fragrance, very feminine in my opinion. And I think it's the perfect summertime scent. When the weather changes again, I could totally see myself pulling for this fragrance because it gives me all the feels. Like even smelling it right now, I'm kind of almost ready for summer. Not really. I'm not even going to speak that. I'm going to enjoy the wintertime. But I love this. Surprisingly, I fell in love with this. And that's why I put it in my best of the best for 2022 designer edition because it shocked me. I'm not even going to lie. It does have the same vein as Very Good Girl in the red bottle, but it's kind of a standalone fragrance to me. I know it's a flanker of that flanker, but to be honest with you, I would prefer this one over the Very Good Girl. I would prefer the Glam because it's both of them are pretty, right? But this one is just, it has a little bit more razzle dazzle in my opinion. So I enjoyed this. It shocked me. Again, this is Very Good Girl Glam by Carolina Herrera. I was thoroughly surprised that I enjoyed this fragrance as much as I did. This is from the house of Jean-Paul Gaultier. This fragrance was talked about for months before I actually could get my hands on it. I didn't even think it was gonna come to the States, to be honest with you, but it made it over to the States. Macy's had it and I picked it up. One of the main reasons why I got this fragrance is because it's a limited edition. I learned something about limited edition fragrances. Granted, some of them may be pricey, but if you smell it and you like it, I would buy it because it's kind of one of those things where later on you kind of like kick yourself for not purchasing it. And then the thing of it too is, my tip number 2, you go on these websites like Mercari or any of these social media clubs, fragrance clubs, and yes, people are sometimes selling their fragrances, but they wanna get you, okay? Like maybe they spend $100 on a fragrance, they know it's limited edition, they're gonna tax on that fragrance because of that fact. So I've learned my lesson when it comes to limited edition fragrances, like, I'm not playing with that, okay? Like, if I want it, like, I'm just gonna go ahead and bite the bullet. Is it bite the bullet? I'm gonna go ahead and bite the bullet and purchase it, okay? One is Fleur Terrible. And when did it come out? It came out in 2022. I feel like it actually came out overseas at the end of 2021. I feel like it because I feel like I watched one or two reviews on people that lived in the UK that actually had this fragrance first. And I feel like this fragrance didn't come to the States probably until like mid-year, something like that. But in this fragrance, you have notes of water lily, another lily fragrance, another lily note. You also have iris and vanilla. So there's 3 notes listed. Y'all know how Jean-Paul Gaultier like to do. I'm pretty sure there are more notes in this fragrance, but I think in order to keep down people impersonating the fragrance, they only list like 3 notes. But I'm sure there's more notes in this fragrance. Like, yeah. I haven't really smelled this fragrance since I bought it, okay? Now, something magical happens to fragrances when you buy it, you spray it for a couple of days, and you just let it sit. I forget the term for that. I think it's called macerating. I could be wrong. Is it macerating? Okay. So what happens is the fragrance oxidizes, or some people may call it macerating, okay? So when you spray your fragrance, air gets in there, and that's when your fragrance starts to age, right? And I'm saying all this because me smelling it again, I wasn't over the top impressed when I first bought it. I thought it was too floral heady for me. I was like not digging the water lily, even though iris and vanilla are 2 of my favorite notes. I was not digging the water lily. The water lily was making me feel some type of way. I was like, what is this? But now that I'm smelling it again, wow, this might be my summertime scent for 2023. Something has happened, and all I can do is blame it on the oxidizing process. You know, you spray your fragrance, the air gets in, it starts to age. You go back to it in about 2 or 3 months, and it's giving you a whole different vibe. That's literally what's happening with this fragrance right now. It makes me feel even better that I purchased this fragrance. Even though it was limited edition, I'm so glad I followed my first mind and bought this fragrance because, baby, this is a banger. It's kind of giving me a little tropical coconutty type of feel, but the water lily has taken on a totally different smell in my opinion. So for Fleur Terrible by Jean-Paul Gaultier, I cannot wait to get into that this summer. My next flanker of a flanker, okay, is from the house of YSL. This is, I have to read this because I get, at this point, I'm so confused. The color of the juice, they all kind of look identical except for the first release, which is a little bit brighter. But this is YSL Libre Parfum. That's what it is. Now, I wasn't a big fan of the original release. I felt like it was too lavender forward for me. It was too heavy on the lavender, and it kind of turned me off. I'm not the biggest fan of lavender fragrances. So I ended up getting the YSL Libre Intense, and I was quite pleased with that until they released Libre Parfum. Now, I like this one over the Intense version, okay? Now, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the note that was added to this one is saffron. Let me just double check. You have ginger, saffron, mandarin orange, bergamot. In the middle, you have orange blossom. Orange blossom may be new to it as well. You have lavender in the base. You have bourbon, vanilla, honey, tonka, and vetiver, okay? I am a big fan of saffron. Saffron, to me, when it's added into fragrances, honey, it just makes the fragrance so damn sexy. And I love the saffron in this. To me, this in the dry down, this is a very boozy fragrance, a very thick, heavy, boozy fragrance. You get that orange blossom in the dry down, which for me turns a little thick, a little syrupy. You do pick up on, of course, the saffron. You do pick up on the ginger, which can come off a little spicy, okay? But the lavender, I feel like is in here, but it's toned down. It's not as present as it is in the original release. I'm a heavy hitter anyway. I spray a lot, you know, and I like loud fragrances. So this one was really, really right up my alley. Truth be told, like, I could totally get rid of the intense version and just rock with this one from here on out. Like, I could see myself purchasing a bigger bottle, like a 3.4 of this one, and like this would be my Libre. Like, this would be the Libre that I would want in my collection. I don't necessarily, I have done a review on this fragrance and I've said it in that video and I'll say it again. You don't need both versions. You don't need the intense and you don't need the Libre Parfum. I think really what it's going to come down to is preference. Like, there has to be something special in one or the other to make you choose. You don't really need both of them. Do they smell the same? Absolutely. Only difference is, for me, I pick up more saffron in the Libre Parfum. So that's why that's the one that I would choose. Okay, so earlier in the video, I mentioned that I'm a big fan of Narciso Rodriguez fragrances, and I am a big fan of his fragrances. Narciso Rodriguez is one of those perfumers where, and he may not be the nose behind this fragrance. The nose behind this fragrance is Sonia Constant, but I feel like he has a creative say in his fragrances, and the reason why I feel that way is because most of his fragrances are built upon the note of musk. Okay, so you kind of have to be a lover of musk to really enjoy his fragrances, I believe. But he came out with Musk Noir, and this is it. The notes in this fragrance include plum, pink pepper, bergamot, musk, rose, tuberose, and vanilla. Now, I am not the biggest fan of tuberose, okay? There's something very heady and piercing for me in tuberose, and I'm not the biggest fan of rose, okay? But the two in this combination, and the two of those put together in this fragrance is amazing. But the one thing, I feel like the one reason why I could tolerate this fragrance is because it is super light. And I would also say that is one of the disappointing things. Oh my God. But because it's so light, I feel like that is one of the things that disappoints me with this fragrance. But if it was loud, I think it would be too much for me. This fragrance is simply gorgeous. The musk in this fragrance reminds me of the musk that's in Musk 12. I think it's 12 by Kylie. And I could totally combine those two fragrances together and, oh my God, just set it off. This fragrance is so gorgeous. It has a little bit of spice in it from the pink pepper. It's a little sweet. Again, the rose and the tuberose just come together so well and creates this beautiful concoction of musk. It's so divine. I would say this is also a great everyday scent. If you're like the type of person where you don't like heavy scents, like, this is perfect for you, because this is, I would consider this after about an hour, this turns into a skin scent on me. This would be a great bedtime scent. I really enjoyed the musk in this fragrance. I wish it could be a little bit, just a little bit more. This is probably one of the bottles that I will finish in 2023 because I feel like I have to spray it so much because it's so light, if that make any sense to y'all. But y'all know what I'm trying to say. But this is a gorgeous scent. Overall, I love it. I give it a 10 out of 10 as far as the smell, but the performance, I would have to give it like a 4 or 5, you know, because it's so light. But that would be the only downside. that would be the only negative thing that I would have to say about this fragrance. But besides that, it is simply gorgeous. He may come out with an intense. If he comes out with an intense on this one, I'm done buying flankers. But if he comes out with an intense, I'm gonna get it because this is so gorgeous. I'm a lover of musk anyway, so it just makes sense for me. It makes sense. It makes sense in my head for me. But love this one, Musk Noir by Narciso Rodriguez. Now this next fragrance shook me, okay? It shocked the hell out of me. I went, and this is one of those fragrances where I spun the block, okay? I went back, I went and smelled it, right? And it reminded me of My Way, and for that, I was like, I'm not buying it. Well, I kept seeing a lot of reviews on it, and people thought the same thing that I thought. They were like, yeah, it reminds you of My Way, but give it a chance because it switches up on you in the dry down. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to go back. I'm going to buy it. And they were absolutely correct. Not only is the packaging adorable, but the dry down is really where it's at with this fragrance. And that is Paradoxe by Prada. At initial spray, it's giving me that sweet bubblegum tuberose that I get in My Way Intense, okay? Even the original My Way, I get it in this fragrance. In the top, pear, tangerine, bergamot. In the middle, you get orange blossom, jasmine sambac, neroli essence, and regular neroli. In the base, you get bourbon vanilla, white musk, amber, and benzoin. I'm going to spray this one as well. Now, when okay, in initial, I just get that, that pretty My Way smell. But the crazy thing of it is, even though they smell similar in that way, there is no tuberose listed in this fragrance. I feel like it is the combination of the florals, the orange blossom and the neroli mixed in with that jasmine is creating that tuberose type of scent. You know, neroli is another fragrance that is very hit or miss for me. Neroli and orange blossom actually come from the same tree or the same plant, but they come off smelling so different in fragrances, okay? Neroli to me has a very soapy smell to it. Orange blossom to me has a little bit more of a vintage, sweet syrupy smell in my opinion. But as this fragrance dries down, I'm picking up the fruits. I'm picking up that sweet pear in the opening, which I love. Ooh, it's the same kind of pear that is in Jean-Paul Gaultier's LaBelle. That type of pear where it's like you smell it, it's sweet, it starts to make you hungry. Like my stomach is starting to growl right now because I'm smelling this fragrance. It's fruity. It's a sweet, fruity, floral fragrance. In the dry down, I get that vanilla bourbon smell, which drives me crazy. I love bourbon vanilla. It's a good, solid scent for Prada, I think, because Prada fragrances are hit or miss for me as well. I have one of the original Prada fragrances, and I have a lot of the Prada candy fragrances because I love that line. And this is just different for me. This is different. I'm so glad I spun the block on this fragrance and I gave it a second chance because I love it. I love it. This was the most shocking for me designer wise in 2022 as far as like double backing, because I usually don't double back. Like my nose is pretty much well trained to know almost instantly if I'm gonna like a fragrance or not. Wearing it on my skin for like 30 minutes, I'll spray it, I'll walk around the mall, I'll do something, okay? I'll get a sample, take it home, wear it for a day. My nose is pretty much, it's trained. She's like, nah. If she don't like something, she's like, hell no. If she loves something, she's like, yes. Initially, it just kind of smelled too much like My Way. But once I gave it a chance, I was like, bet, this is it right here. Like, this is it. And the longevity on this thing, Child, the longevity on the Prada Paradoxe is superior. You're definitely going to get your money's worth because it smells amazing. The longevity is amazing. The projection is amazing. Everything about this fragrance it just checked off every box for me. So yeah, love Prada Paradoxe by Prada. I was really on the fence about adding this fragrance because it is a flanker. Okay, it's a flanker of a flanker. Is it a flanker? This is definitely a flanker. There's already like several of these fragrances out, so I feel very confident in calling this a flanker of a flanker because I feel like it is a flanker of Burberry Her Intense. Okay, this is Burberry Her Elixir, and you guys know what this smells like. I've talked about it before. Word on the street was that Burberry Her Intense has been discontinued. That was word on the street. And then they came out with this baby, Burberry Her Elixir, okay, which made sense to me. It made sense to me because I'm like, you know, brands have a tendency to get rid of fragrances that people just really love. And I couldn't wrap my head around why they would discontinue Burberry Her Intense because I feel like a lot of people loved that fragrance. Well, then when I found out they was bringing this in and then I smelled it, I was like, okay, makes sense. Because truth be told, there can't be two queens in one house. So to get rid of the intense version and come out with this one, which is supposed to be a little bit better than the intense, but still held that same Burberry Her DNA, made so much sense to me. Okay, a lot of sense actually. But I love this one. When I went to purchase this fragrance, at the time, there was no option for anything smaller. I would have got something smaller, but here we are. I have this big bottle. The notes in this fragrance include strawberry, blackberry, jasmine, vanilla, amber, and sandalwood. I thought there was a milky note, some type of lactonic note in this fragrance, but I guess I was mistaken. The reason why I say that is because this fragrance comes off very kind of lactonic to me, you know, creamy, very creamy. And I guess, you know, by looking at it now, it's from the sandalwood. This opens up very much like Burberry Her Intense. I get that sweet, fruity, strawberry, cherry thing that goes on in this fragrance. I get the creamy vanilla. I get the creamy sandalwood. The amber, I think, is a new addition to this flanker because the amber gives it something warm. It gives it a warm touch, a warmthness in this fragrance, okay? So I do like that. Bottom line, end of the day, this fragrance smells exactly like Burberry Her Intense. If you were like one of those that were not able to get their hands on the Burberry Her Intense, you missed out on nothing, okay? You can pick this up and you will get the same feels, the same vibes as the Burberry Her Intense. So that's what I would do. But I do feel like this fragrance is a little bit more milkier, creamier. It has a little bit more of a lactonic feel to it. But yeah, do you need both? Do you need the Intense and do you need this one? No, but because the Intense is discontinued, you can get this one and you'll have the same feels, the same vibes, same everything, okay? All right, you guys, so those were my designer best of the best for 2022. Like I said, I struggled a lot when picking fragrances for my designer video. It is what it is, you know. Who knows, next year they may come out with some new exciting fragrances that are actually not flankers. That's what I'm hoping for, okay? That's what I'm hoping for. But I do enjoy the ones that I have. Again, I've not been buying a lot of designer this year for the obvious reason. But yeah, let me know down in the comments below what your favorite designer fragrances were that were released in 2022. I'm very curious to know. If you are a lover of fragrances, I would love for you to hit that subscribe button, turn on your notification bell. That way you will not miss out on any new videos that I release during the week. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button on your way out. I would appreciate it so much. I hope you guys are having a fabulous day and smelling good doing it. I will see you in the next video. Mwah. Bye.